guys. It's real funny to me, the things that bother people, so I'll just go ahead and take the jab at myself, because every day I make an effort to see pictures from crime scenes and surgical procedures. But you show me an abandoned house with the door standing open, and it triggers my fight or flight response. So I don't think the things I'm about to tell you are gross. And I don't understand why you may disagree with me, because I love blood and guts, and as luck would have it, in 2009, I was on my way to being fired from a newspaper for the third time, when I got the opportunity to go to work in a pathology lab, and I would be up to my elbows, literally, in blood and guts and severed legs every day. So, if you're not sure what happens at a pathology lab, I'll give you a quick overview. Let's say you have your tonsils taken out. And I know you have, because I have seen a billion tonsils. So your surgeon scoops out the tonsils, tags the right one, usually with a big safety pin, hopefully after he removes it, sends it to pathology, and then at the lab, the tonsils go to a pathology assistant, or a PA, who has the aptly named job of the gross evaluation. So the PA looks at your big, funky tonsils and says, yep, this is consistent with what we agree is tonsil tissue. PA cuts the tonsil, put inks on one side, dictates her observation, and moves it on for processing. Now, processing is done overnight, and there are 5 runs of tissue. It can be small, medium, large, fatty, or rapid fatty. P.S. Rapid Fatty was my nickname when I ran the Bentonville Half Marathon. Way to go. So, a year ago today, actually. In the morning, the fixed tissue is embedded in paraffin, sent over to histology, and then cut into delicate sections, which are placed onto microscope slides. Then the tissue is stained pink and blue, like this. This is a tonsil, and the slide goes to a pathologist. The pathologist puts the slide under a microscope, and then he says, yep, that's the tonsil, all right. But anything you have removed from your body goes to pathology. The standard bill of fare includes tonsils, of course, gallbladders, appendices, uteri, colon, skin, breasts, lipomas, which are like benign little fatty tumors, legs. It didn't take me long to start to wonder if I was the only person in Northwest Arkansas with all of my original parts. Because I have seen each miraculous inch of the human body removed from the human body and floating in formalin. Everything. Spleen, testicle, tongue, placenta, genital warts, gastrointestinal biopsies, toes, fingers, prostates, prostate chips, biopsies of all kinds. As long as you've got a liver, a brain, a heart, some lungs, and one good kidney, you're pretty much going to make it. You can indeed live without many things you think you can't live without. Anus, vulva, penis. One time I opened a container and saw a single eyeball, dead and yet alert, staring up at me like it was just a surprise to see me. Another time I unwrapped a small surgical towel to find an entire ear. A gallbladder full of peppercorn-sized stones in a jar, and oily bile and oily formalin, always reminded me of an artisan balsamic vinaigrette. Liver core biopsies are as fine and delicate as precious saffron strands. And your body can decide suddenly to grow a horn, maybe on your face, maybe on your shoulder. Your body is not picky about how it betrays you. There was a full-size refrigerator in the morgue that was dedicated to the storage of legs. Once a week, someone drew the short straw and had to go, first of all, into the morgue, and second of all, dig through all the legs and throw away any that had been there for 2 weeks. In pathology, if you're smart and you're willing to do the work, you can do a lot of things. Run pap smears, help with autopsies, work on bone marrow biopsies, cut specimens from dermatology clinics. If you're into squeezing zits, this is the most satisfying job in the whole lab. Thanks to the prevalence of the sebaceous cyst. And work in histology, cutting the processed tissue for the pathologist's microscopic evaluation. And I did all of these things except the very thing I wanted to do most of all, which was the autopsy. And what I loved about pathology, aside from the blood and guts, is that we never saw the patient. In pathology, it didn't matter who you were, what you believed, or even what you thought about yourself. Because if I was holding a bucket with your colon in it, it smelled just as bad as any other colon. So, while every part of the body is fascinating, it was always good to shake things up with one of the lesser seen specimens. So there were three things that we hardly ever saw and that I loved above all others. They were not an everyday thing, not an every month kind of thing. So first of all, I loved the Pannis. Now, let's see one. A Pannis is the layer of fat that overhangs from the abdomen. Some are bigger than others. We never had any history on anything, but I assumed any Pannis we got was from a skin removal surgery. They were pretty rare, and they were all very dear to me, so I like to give them little pet names based on some of my favorite music performers, like Pannis Ian, Pannis Joplin, and Pannis at the Disco. One time we got a Pannis that was so big it couldn't be weighed on the scale in the growth station. And it was even too big to be weighed on the big scale in the morgue. So another lab tech had to go weigh himself on the bathroom scale and then weigh himself holding this biohazard bag with a Pannis in it. Another favorite was the dermoid cyst. Dermoid cysts are rare, and they're usually benign little cysts that are also called teratoma. And what's incredible about the dermoid cyst is that they grow hair.
Oh my God.
You can get a dermoid cyst in pathology and cut it open, and it might just be completely packed with hair. They knew to call me into the grow station when they opened a teratoma so I could see it. Yeah, so a hairball. But that's not all. A teratoma, it means monstrous growth in Greek. It's not just a hairball. It can grow just about any kind of tissue, including teeth. Teeth. Yes, absolutely. And finally, my favorite thing to see in pathology was the foreign body. Well, the foreign body is the removal from your body of anything you weren't born with or did not grow as a result of bodily betrayal. It can include the metal from your hip replacement or even your IUD, but usually it was something the patient had put or allowed to be put inside their body. No, like a crayon from a kid's ear. But usually, alright, the patient was an adult and male, no gerbil. The items were sometimes removed from the rectum. It could be a plastic Coke bottle, a pair of nail clippers, a vibrator, but not always, because apparently men, for all the carrying on they do about their precious little penises, like to put things up there too, like the plastic ink tube from a pen, a heart-shaped bead, or a feather. Now, when I say feather, I want you to think less feather and more plume, okay? Like Edgar Allan Poe dipped this thing in ink and wrote the Raven with it. And then a pimp wore it in his hat for a while. And then this guy saw it in the dining room centerpiece and he stuck it up his penis. Yo, by the time we got it though, it looked like a cat that had been petted the wrong way. So, y'all remember the leg fridge, right? Well, there's a cabinet for foreign bodies, but unlike the legs, pathology keeps foreign bodies forever. I worked with 9 pathologists, and every summer those doctors would make their kids, if they were old enough, come to work at the lab. And the doctors called it an internship, but their kids really saw it as a paid punishment. My favorite of all of these interns/doctors' kids was this devastatingly smart guy majoring in neuroscience at Vanderbilt. One time he used his mother's emergencies only credit card for KISS tickets for all of his friends. And so that's why I'm going to call this kid Gene. So, Gene and I were alone in the lab one day when we received a foreign object. This particular foreign object came into the lab in a Ziploc bag. It was an enormous pink dildo. It was Gene's first time to see a foreign body, and maybe even his first time to see a dildo. So he asked me why it ended up in the lab. Now, this kid was a genius, and his mother was my boss. So I tried to be vague, because I figured really he could do the math on that one, right? Well, I was trying to be diplomatic. I said, it had to be removed from the patient. And Gene's eyes bugged out of his head, and I was expecting that. But then he threw me for a loop because he said, removed? You mean he ate it? Yeah, so I died. And I came back to life and I said, okay, Gene, in a way, I guess you could definitely say that. So, unlike surgical cases, foreign bodies had to have a gross examination from a pathologist and not a PA. They didn't need to process any tissue from these, so they only needed a gross examination. So someone would buzz the on-call doctor and let them know there was a gross only in the lab. Now, if I had to call the pathologist and break that news, I like to fib and say that I had not seen it. Because saying I had not looked at the foreign object was easier than telling a doctor it was a big old butt plug. So with the gross only, the doctor would come down to the lab and dictate a report that usually went something like this. The specimen is received fresh in a biohazard bag labeled foreign body from rectum. The specimen is a penis-shaped object, 10.5 inches in length, bright pink in color, with adherent fecal material. And the foreign body, no matter who it came from, always left me with so many questions that are just going to have to go unanswered forever. Like, what was it like when you went to the emergency room? Did someone drive you? How did you walk to the car? How did you sit in the car? And when you got there, did you go in and say, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have one of those foam pool noodles inside of me, and I'm sure it's nothing. Okay, guys. I'm done, okay? I hope you're not too traumatized. I know for sure you're going to talk about me next week at work. That's fine. I just want you to remember that your body can do amazing things. Really, think about that. Next time you almost poop yourself, don't thank God for getting you to the toilet in time. Thank your body for being able to stick the landing when you cram it full of gas station taquitos. But if you do happen to blow out your colon, pathology lab will throw it out after a few weeks, and it'll all be forgotten. But your surgically removed dildo is forever.